Okay. Let's see what we got going on today. Yeah. Cool. Cool. See how the stream's holding up. Brand new card. Change the fix the fan on the CPU. Now I just gotta figure out how to. The funny thing is I really don't know anything about this Instagram stuff. All I know how to do is post. For some reason, I can't for the life of me figure out how to do a new story, even though there's one already there. Or just even add to it. No, don't want it to die. Making sure that it's not losing its potential. Let's see. What should we cover today? We might have a new person joining us. Sweet. Okay, perfect. I just got a notification. Okay. All right. We've got a new... Well, I was doing this differential equation. I guess we'll skip it for now. Okay. First thing was so just in case, I thought I should maybe type over here and say hi. And okay, we're having a little bit of difficulty with this quick little problem. We've got A is -1, 4. Got B 4, 0. C 2, 2. And D 4, 4. Okay, then first we should discuss what it is that the question's actually asking for. We've got x plus y is less than 8. We've got x is greater than or equal to 0, and y is greater than or equal to 0. Oh. Let's help her out a little bit here. Okay, I will just wait patiently. I am listening to some Final Fantasy music actually while I wait. I think she might be getting here. We shall see it momentarily. Stream is rockin' quality. I think that new graphics card made a huge difference. Oh, just died a bit. I gotta wait for the delay a bit. Well, maybe I'll do a little bit of a discussion. No, I think maybe you did. Okay. Great. Cool. You may need to make an account just so you can type in the chat. It's just the same as YouTube, where if you don't have a name, you can't make a comment or anything like that. Don't worry, it's free. Same as YouTube. It should be a real quick name process if you need to. And you should be able to just type in the chat on the right hand side and have no problems. There is a bit of a delay, about, I think it's about 15 seconds. Could test it, but a little difficult at the moment. I've tried to reduce it as much as I can, but I am streaming to both YouTube and Twitch, and the YouTube one is a little worse. And there's the chat. Actually, the delay is pretty good. Only a few seconds. At least on my screen here. Let's say x is greater than a number. X is greater than or equal to a number. Or between. All those things. What do they actually mean? I'm just going to wait until you can type in the chat, and then we'll be good to go. While I'm waiting, I'll think of some things that go with it. Hey, Elmo. What do you got going on? Nat, there you are. Nat, is that you? Perfect. Okay, Nat, let's do your work here. Let's figure this out for you. And Elmo, what do you have going on? Okay, Elmo's got a definition of derivative. And okay, Elmo, we'll do some derivative stuff for you. I've got Nat here first, and then we'll do your definition and derivatives. So, Elmo, have you started working on it? Like, are you done, or are you just getting started? Because this might take a little while first, like maybe 20 minutes or so. Anyways, Nat, what about inequalities do you not understand? Because there's a little bit just about the way the lots of people will say like the crocodile mouth, and what does each symbol mean? So the symbol itself is, you could say, by reading it from the left to the right, x is greater than a. That's the first one. And we can just say whatever we want the a to be. So if we said x is greater than 1, then the value of x is always just greater than 1. So if you had a number line, and you started here at 0, and here's 1, and here's the -1, and it goes -2, whatever, 2. This symbol here, x greater than 1, is meaning that as long as the number is bigger than 1, it's an answer. But since there's no equal sign underneath, you can't include 1. You could include 1.000000001, and that would be fine. You just can't include 1 itself. So this would be like an open, and then everything to the right of it, because everything that's bigger than 1 is an answer. And this just goes on forever. Okay. This symbol here is just adds the equal to it, which implies that you can have the closed circle. Okay, and then this is just implying both of them at the same time. A is less than or equal to x, but x is also less than or equal to b. So if you had two numbers in here, a and b, x is between the two of them. Okay. You following me so far there, Nat? Nat, are you still there? Okay. What kind of questions do you have? It loads from time to time? Like a delay? Like it, you having issues with the stream itself, quality-wise? Elmo, you have an A in your class? Oh, there you go. Should be pretty easy for you to understand, but we'll go through the derivatives. Okay, Nat, let's see what you got here. Let's combine a little bit of questions to deal with yours. So yours has these restrictions. Oops, going a little too far there. Come on here. Having some load issues here. Your restrictions. I wonder what I can do to fix that. I mean, I'm doing pretty good on my end quality-wise. It might be just a delay. We're through restream. Anyways, we'll power through it, and maybe we'll see if I can restart the stream and maybe just do to Twitch. Okay, so yours here have these restrictions. X plus y is less than 8. X is greater than or equal to 0, and y is greater than or equal to 0. And you've got all these answers. Let's do an example working through this, just understanding what you have. You've got x plus y greater than 8. X is greater than or equal to 0, and y is greater than or equal to 0. So let's work through each one here. Y is greater than or equal to 0. What does that mean? It means that all the values have to be between 0 and, well, positive infinity. And they can include 0. So if the number is 1, then it works. If the number is 2, it works. If it's 50, it works. Right? What about x? X is greater than or equal to 0. So then it's a similar thing. It's got to be as well. It can include 0, but any number bigger than it will work. That makes sense there, Nat? Okay. Then another I think I wrote the restriction wrong. Yeah, it's got to be less than. Holy cow, what is with this right now? I usually don't have it such. Anyways, so now you've got x plus y has to be less than 8. What does that mean? That means whatever numbers you add together has to be less than 8. So a number that would work would be, well, if 7 and 1, and 6 and 2, and all the numbers in between. Right? So we've got these 3 restrictions. We know x has to be greater than 0. Y has to be greater than 0. But whatever they add together has to be less than 8. Not equal to. Less than 8. Which means in this case, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, right? If the numbers added together equals these, then you know it would be an answer. Does that make sense there, Nat? Perfect. So, let's take a look. What are your answers? What do you have to find out? You tell me which numbers, since you've got A, B, C, and D. A is -1, 4. B is 4, 0. C is 2, 2. And D is 4, 4. You tell me how many of these, so A, B, or A and C, or A, B, C, you tell me which ones are the right answers. Which of these pairs fit this description? And remember that it's X, Y. I guess I should probably just move the chat to underneath the cam. Which ones fit? This will take you a few seconds at least, and you'll be fine. B and C? Okay, let's check. That's a good start. Let's look at A. Well, X is negative, so it can't be A. We know that one already. B. X is 4, and Y is 0. They add together and they give you less than 8. That works for me. 2 and 2. Both greater than 0. Add together to give you 4. That's less than 8. That works for me. 4 and 4. Well, they're both greater than 0. That works. When you add them together, they get 8, which this implies not equal to. So you're right. B and C. What's your next stuff? Yeah, sure. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm testing each value. So let's test A. Well, X is -1. Our constraint says X has to be greater than 0. So that doesn't work. We're done already. So let's test B. B, we've got X is equal to 4, which fits the constraint that it's greater than 0. Good. Y is 0, which also fits the constraint that Y is greater than 0 or equal to. Right? If you add the two together, 4 plus 0 is 4, and that is less than 8. So that fits it. Okay, so that works. Let's test C. We've got X is equal to 2. Well, that's greater than 0. Check. We've got y is equal to 2 here. That's also fitting our constraint. Y is greater than 0. Check. And then if we add the two together, 2 plus 2 is 4. Which means then we've got, which is also less than 8. So that works. We test the last one. And we've got x is equal to 4. Well, that's greater than 0, so that works. Y is equal to 4. And that's greater than or equal to 0, so that works. But when you add them together, we get 8. We need a number that's less than 8. So that doesn't work. 8 is not less than 8. 8 is 8. Does that make sense? Ah, good, good. Okay. Send me... Do you have anything else that is different from these, or is it a lot similar to this? I'll wait for some pictures here. Okay. We've got a bunch of inequalities. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, well, I can't see all your answers to pick from, but let's do the grid square itself. I think what I'll do is I'll bring up this one, make it a little bit easier. I'll bring up a grid. Okay. This question, we've got a point that's -2, 0. There's a -2. And comma 0, 2. And comma 2, 0. 0, -2. And conjoin. Okay. We've got our y-axis and our x-axis. I should probably turn off the grid now. Got our y-axis and our x-axis. Okay, cool. So you sent me the 3 to look at. So we've got 0, 2, 2, 0, 0, -2, and -2, 0. Now, again, you're probably just going to have to test the way these values work. But first of all, I want to clarify one thing. This is, I'm going to drop some opacity here. This is shaded in. Each of these squares is shaded in. Or I should say triangles. The whole square itself is shaded in. Good enough. Okay. That means what? That all these values inside the square, or the diamond, are answers to the solution as well. That means whatever you're going to do, it's going to be a less than or equal to. It's because it's going to be less than this line, and it's going to have those values. Or it's going to be less than this line, and it's going to have those values. Or greater than this line and have those values. Do you see what I mean? So the values, because it's shaded in, that means all the numbers actually work. If it wasn't shaded in, that means only the lines themselves are the answers. So what would be a good way to think about it? If I draw another little graph, and I say, here's y, here's x, and here's another quick little line. And let's say this is y equals 1. If I just have y equals 1, then it's the line itself, that's the answers. But if I shade above it, that means all the values of y greater than 1 are also answers. You get it. Okay, cool. So then I'll get rid of this and conserve some room here. Okay. Now, the thing about this is, do you remember lines? Like, do you remember how to look at a line on a graph and determine its formula? So, like the y equals mx plus b. Okay, good. So what is, since you remember a little bit, I just want to kind of refresh your memory quickly. So y equals mx plus b. M is your slope, or we could say it's your rise over run. Do you remember your slope? Does that ring a bell? Good. B is your y-intercept. Or you could say it's the shift above or below the origin. Usually they would say the y-intercept. So, for example, if this is the origin, 0, 0, and the line went through 1, then B is 1. Okay, good. Perfect. So you remember this rise over run y-intercept stuff. Okay, great. Let's now look at each segment of this diamond. Okay, I'm going to turn the grid back on, even though it's a little ugly, but it's okay. let's start with the line on this quadrant. So what is this line? Okay. First thing that we know is that it intercepts the y-axis at 2. So we automatically know that the b is 2. Now, can you tell me what the slope of this line is? Because this is important to understand. If you can determine these equations, you'll be able to get the rest. It wouldn't be 0. Okay. The slope of the line, remember, is the rise over run. If I go back here and it says it's the rise over the run. So if we have a line starting at 2, 0, 2, and 2, 0. Hey Raj, I'm helping with some inequalities. Okay, so remember that the slope is the rise over the run. So in this case, the rise is actually going down. So the rise is down, because it's going down this direction. Okay, so we know that it's actually negative. We could do our slope formula. That will be a little bit easier, which would just be the second value for the y, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So are you following me on just why it's negative so far? Okay, good. Now, what about determining what the actual value is? Okay, well, let's go through your formula again. So the rise is your y2 minus y1. So if this is the first point, this is point 1, and this is point 2, you know, going from left to right, then this is the coordinates x1, comma x2, and this is the coordinates, y1. This is the coordinate x2, y2, and now we'll just plug it into the formula. So our slope m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm just going to get rid of this graph. So 2 minus 0 and 0 minus 2, right. No, y2 is 0 minus 2. x2 is 2. And y... What am I doing? x1 is 0. So you get minus 2 over 2, which equals... So the 2's cancel each other out, right? When you reduce the fractions, which equals minus 1. So your slope is minus 1. So then, if we... So we've found our b value. And our m value is minus 1. Because here's y. There's that one. Yep, perfect. Our formula for this line is y equals inequalities. We're dealing with inequalities. This is just a little side note refresher on lines to help with our question that we're working on. Okay, Nat? So what is the equation of this line? And I'll wait for you nice and patiently. That's not a good place for that. Nat, are you still there? Are you following? Okay, good. So what is the equation of the line? We've got our b value and our m value. We just have to plug them in, right? So tell me, what is the equation of the line? Should be able to type it all on your keyboard. Perfect. You got it. Y equals negative x plus 2. Conventionally, you don't have to write a 1 when it's multiplied onto an x. You can just say negative x. Okay. Now, on our question, it's shaded in below that line, right? So what does that mean for an inequality? if it's shaded below, so like in here, is that going to be y is less than or equal to negative x plus 2? Or is it going to be greater? Is it going to be the first one or the second one? Kind of wish the delay was a little better for you. Yeah, it'd be less than. It'd be the first one. Because you want to have all the values that are less than the line. And this is the y is the one that we're working with, and we want all the values of it that are below the line. So technically, if I wanted to, I could just continue this line onwards. And it would be everything below it, right? Unless we have restrictions. But I'm not going to do that. Okay? So that's our first one. We know for a fact y is less than or equal to negative x plus 2. Then we need to find the rest of the lines. What about this one? Or this one? Or this one? If you look at your answers, you could start to gauge which one's the correct answer just by looking at which one of them has this one. You don't need to question it. Look, is there any other ones that have y is less than or equal to negative x plus 2? We can do another one. We could do this one over here if you wanted as well. And then you could be doubly sure. Do you want to practice another one? I mean, this second line over here in the left-hand quadrant would be pretty easy to do as well. We could do it on the same page. Okay. Practice. You know the values already here. So as I write this down, m equals your rise over your run, I want you to start looking and finding out the answers for me. What's your b value and what's your slope? So m equals what? And b equals what? Should be able to do it just like we did a few minutes ago. Remember, it's y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1. So I want you to look and tell me what are the answers here. What's M and what's B? I have everything written down that you need. You just have to tell me what you got. I am getting dropped frames still. It's a little unfortunate, but... I know it's a little bit lengthy, but you have to go through each thing and learn them. And have, you know, kind of like a memory of what you did. Thanks, Moshi. I love the idea of a lurk. Thanks, bud. So you've got 0 minus minus 2 and 0 minus minus 2. You might want to try that again. Remember, it's the y values. You're at work? That's okay. I love the idea. Thanks, bud. Just start with y. We've got y1 is equal to 0 because of this first one right here. y2 is equal to 2 because of the second one. We've got x2 is equal to 0 because of this value. And we've got x1 is equal to minus 2 because of this value. So now plug them in. Yeah, just a little. You can do it now. You just need to remember which one's your first point and which one's your second point. Robbie Expert, thanks for the follow there, bud. Welcome. Okay, now, so what do you get? 2 minus 0 and 0 minus minus 2. What do you get? What is your slope? What is your m? I know it's a little bit of patience here, but we can do it. Well, you got 2 over 2, right? What does that reduce to? Yeah, 1. Good. What's your b value? Good. Your b value is 2. So what's the slope? What's the equation of the line? You can do it. Y equals... There you go. X plus 2. Perfect. Okay. Now what happens? We've got less than the line, right? To whole shade it in. So, is it going to be y is less than x plus 2? Or y is greater than or equal to x plus 2? Now you got to look at that shaded region. Come on, Nat. This is for you. See what you got. You can even watch the chat. Sometimes people in chat like to say stuff too. Just like Robbie over here. Because he's an expert. Well, why? See, what's the difference here? Greater means above. I'm actually helping Nat here. Nat contacted me on Instagram to help her with her homework. So we're going through and figuring things out. Right, less than. So this line on the left-hand side is y is less than or equal to x plus 2. So now you've got 2 of them found out. And now you can really confirm your answers on your homework. Okay. That should be enough for you to confirm your answer. It would be good for practice for you to do the other 2 on your own. And all you have to do is just follow that formula just to remember you don't mess up. And you even have the answers just because it's the other 2, right? So you should try it. Make sure you get the right answer sometime. But we should move on to your next stuff. We got to finish the rest of your problems, or make sure you at least know how to do them, right? So whenever you're ready, I can have another couple pictures here. Elmo, are you still here? Because while Nat's sending me some pictures, I could help you with your question. I do have Discord. What I like to do is, that's exactly it. I screen share on Discord in a call, and they send me pictures, and we talk back and forth. When I have some good one-on-ones. Nat's here is new to this Twitch and all that stuff, so I didn't want to overwhelm people. Okay, well, Nat's getting some stuff for me. Let's do your it looks like a limit problem. Okay, Nat, take a few more of the rest of them and we'll take a look. Now these, like this next one that you just sent me there, Nat, you should be able to just take a look and try and figure it out from what we've gone through. So I want you to do a little work while I do this question for Elmo, and we'll go through it afterwards. Also, just so you guys are aware, people watching on Twitch, I'm also on YouTube at the same time. So sometimes I'll be talking to some people on YouTube and sometimes on Twitch. Okay, Elmo. We've got f of a plus h minus f of a over h by the looks of it, for f of x is equal to 3x squared plus 1. Now, I feel like this should be a little bit different written, like it should have a limit and stuff. Let me just confirm for a second. Because Elmo, it looks like you're doing about a first year university or a pre-calc course. And I want to make sure what kind of stuff they want you to do. Yeah, limits are easy. That would be exactly. Robert, you too? Okay. Elmo, I'm pretty sure you have when the limit as h approaches 0 in front of that. So, Elmo, let's talk about this. We don't really care what a is right now. We're just gonna plug it in for a value. So, first off, I'm just gonna say, what is f of a? In case you don't really remember, all you're doing is plugging in an a for whenever there's an x. So in this problem, there's only an x squared. So if we're just going to change whatever's inside, whatever the variable is, to something else, we just replace that in its entirety as whatever we're changing it to. So we're still going to have the 3, and then we'll have a squared plus 1, right? And then since there's nothing else, we can just get rid of the brackets, and it's just 3a squared plus 1. Okay? That shouldn't be too difficult. Now, if we've got a plus h, we're going to plug in the entirety of a plus h. Okay? Elmo, you still following? You still there? Okay, great. You understand, Elmo? You shouldn't be too hard from here. A plus h, we're just going to replace the x squared with a plus h. So we still got a 3. We're going to write a bracket. And then we're going to, instead of x squared, we're going to say a plus h squared. And then we still got the 1, so we're still going to add 1. Imac, thanks for the follow, bud. Glad to see new people. Okay. Elmo, all we have to do now is just plop these into the formula and continue doing our limit. So, we've got our limit as h approaches 0. F of a plus h is 3 times a plus h squared plus 1. Then we're going to minus, I'm going to write it on another line. It's a little big. Okay, limit h approaches 0. F of a plus h is 3 times a plus h quantity squared plus 1. And then the next one, we're going to go minus, and I'm going to put it in a big bracket because the minus has to act on the whole equation. It can't just act on the first term. That would be wrong. So we've got f of a, which is 3a squared plus 1. And then the whole thing is divided by h. You following along so far there, Elmo? It's right here. So the minus f of a, so this is our f of a right here. F of a is right here. It's the 3a squared plus 1, so it's right in here. That's f of a. And you see the minus sign is in there, and that's from our formula that we're doing. Okay, good. You're following. That's great. Awesome. I'm going to get rid of this just to keep it neat. Now we're going to distribute the negative, and we're going to square this out. So I'm going to do this just on the side here for you. So a plus h squared is what? If you take it, if it's been a while, you would normally do FOIL. So you would do a plus h times a plus h. And then that would equal a times a times h times a, h times h. Elmo, Do you remember your FOIL or your capability of these squares? Actually, if you ever want to look at these things again, on my Instagram, I post a lot of like formulas and problems that people send me and all that stuff. There's one I have about the binomial theorem on there as well. So it has the squared, the triple, and n values. So a squared plus 2ah plus h squared, and so a times a is a squared. Go in with the first one. A times h is ah. Second one, h times a. And then the last one, h times h. So h squared, and that's how we get this. Okay. All I'm going to do is go to the next line, and I'm going to change the square to what we've done over here on the right, and I'm going to distribute the negative. Should be enough to just be a little slow. 3. I'm going to leave the bracket because the 3 has to multiply onto everything. A squared plus 2ah plus h squared plus 1, because that's still there. And then we're going to minus 3a squared, and then the minus times the 1, minus 1. That is all still over h. You follow me still there, Elmo? Let me know if you get lost anywhere. Sum of combinatorics. You're good? You're good so far? Yeah, you distribute the minus. Next we have to distribute this 3 as well. So we got 3 times the a squared. We got to do all that still. Because we can't add all the like terms yet. You'll see when we do. Okay. Let's distribute the 3. Three times a squared, 3a squared. 3 times 2 is 6. So plus 6ah. 3 times h squared is 3h squared. And then we already have this 1 and the minus 1. They cancel out. So let's just cross them out right away. And then we've got minus 3a squared. Remember, this is still all over h. And Elmo, pretty sure you've gotten this far. Limit h approaches 0. Great. You'd see that this 3a squared and this minus 3a squared, well, they're the same, but one's a minus, so if you add them together, you get 0. So let's cross them out. What are we left with? Castle Crasher. This is not numbers, this is math. There's a difference. We've got 6AH plus 3H squared over H. And now this is where things get very simple. You can cancel out 1H from the top and bottom. So if I wanted to, let's just say I'll take out an H. So if I take an H out of both terms, to get to be back the same, well, there's one here, so I just multiply it by 6A. And then there's 2 here, so this is plus 3H. And remember, this is still all over H. So these two H's cancel out. That would just give you 1. So what are you left with? Limit as H approaches 0 of 6A plus 3H. So now, what does this limit equal? Elmo, this is all you. You got it. Come on, Elmo, you can do it. We're cheering for you. You don't know? What happens if you plug in 0 for H? What do you get? Okay. If H is 0, you still got 2 terms. Does this term have an H in it? Yeah, I think it clicked. I think it clicked now. So what is it? What do you get? There you go, 6A. And I would know this answer right off the bat by just looking at the equation. It looks like you haven't got into the power rule and standard definitions of derivatives yet, but technically this is the limit for the derivative at a point A. If you did an x instead of an a, it would just give you the function of the derivative. So if you plugged in a as 1, you'd get 6. Or if you plugged in a as 2, you'd get 12. You know, that kind of stuff. Nat said her laptop died, so we'll see when she's back. Elmo, do you have any more questions that you're working on, or anything that's more troubling to you? Or that kind of solves the issue, going through that process? Always gotta wait for that delay, eh? It's not like I'm playing a game, though. Graph x minus 1. X is greater or equal to 1, just to check to see if your answer is right. Well, let me ask you this. Let's do this. I'm gonna just erase this question that we did. Throw on a grid. You are doing, it looks like you're doing, what, the start of a course? X minus 1. So I'm assuming you mean y equals x minus 1. We've got y and we've got x. Yes, okay. So you've got f of x is equal to x minus 1. And you've got x yeah, when the prof gotta know what you mean, yep. X is greater than or equal to 1. Okay. Double check to make sure what I wrote on here is what you have. Perfect. Okay. The first one is a line. We went through that earlier. I know you were here. So we shouldn't have too much trouble figuring out where this line is. If I say this is a point and this is a point, and we'll go like this. Just to make it a little nice for graphing. Cool. Here's our grid. Okay. How many points do you need for a line? You just need 2. However, I'm doing it on this way so that I can have some numbers in here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. -1, -2, -3. And then -1 and -2. And that should be enough. Okay. X minus 1. Remember our equation of a line, y equals mx plus b. In this case, our slope is 1 and our b is -1. B is -1, which means we're down here. And a slope of 1, which means we're right here. Going from -1 to 1, that's a slope of 1. Okay? Now, my only issue is, can I draw a line that's straight through those points? I'm going to just sketch. Close enough. Not very straight, but it'll work. Okay, so this is f of x equals x minus 1. We need x is greater than or equal to 1. So first off, what is x equal to 1? Well, this is 1 right here, and it works for all values of y. So we can literally just draw a straight line up and a straight line down. So we've got x has to be greater than 1. So it's going that way. We want to know for when these two intersect, let's say. Something tells me there isn't really, you might be missing a piece of information. Or just like, is this supposed to be f of x is equal to, or is it supposed to be like greater than or less than or anything like that? Because right now it's a little bit confusing. Yeah, like the x domain. If it is that, then we know what we have. I'm questioning, and just in case his formula. So just on your function though, is there anything that changes your function, or is it literally just x equals to? F of x equal to. Because I'm just a little curious if it's supposed to be f of x is greater than or equal to x minus 1, or if f of x is less than or equal to x minus 1, or if it is just x equals. Because that makes a difference. It just says, so it doesn't say anything about the function itself? Because if it's just equal to, then you're just talking about a domain or a range. If you're talking about one of these inequalities, then you're talking about a shaded region. So it makes a difference. Patience is a virtue, right? Okay. So then we'll just go with that it's equal to. Then you'd be right. It's just a solid line. Because you don't need anything less than it. And it would be a full dot and going on that way. And this is, it's a rise of 1 over 1. Still feel like my dots are inaccurate. My line's not very good. But that's it. With your domain where x is just strictly greater than or equal to 1. What other stuff do we have to work on? Or should I start working on some other things while we wait for Nat? It's still slope-intercept form. So let me ask you this. Is 1 plus 2 the same as 2 plus 1? Exactly. So when you've got something that's in a reverse order, they're not trying to actually mess you up. It's just you can write things either way. So if you have f of x is 1 plus 2x, that's still going to have your m is 2 and your b is 1. Doesn't matter. Because that's the same thing. And if you got a similar problem, it looks to be the exact same. You just now know that it's greater than 2 and there's no equal sign. So you know it would be an open circle on the point rather than closed, because you're not including 2. You're just including everything around 2. In our frame of reference, numbers are additive. There's the additive property. You can a plus b is the same as b plus a. That's why lots of times you'll see a formula rewritten in a reverse order, and it doesn't really matter. Like a plus b is b plus a. There's the multiplication. AB is the same as BA. Those kinds of things. You just don't really think about them. Cool. Cool. You're very welcome, Elmo. Dude, come back anytime. If you follow my Instagram, so you're on the YouTube channel. If you click the Twitch link, it'll bring you to Twitch, and I have all my links to my other stuff there as well. You can always send me a message anytime through Instagram or Twitch or anything like that. And sometimes if you can just send a picture, I can maybe send you a message back to help it out. Or if I'm live, then we do it live. But let's see, is Nat back? She's sent me a problem here. But she said her laptop died, so we'll see if she's back. We can get rid of this. Robbie, what have you done? What's your experience in math? I am saying it right. It is Robbie. Even though it looks like it could potentially be Roby. You just graduated. You have no idea how many times I've run into people saying, why wasn't I doing this years ago? What'd you graduate in? Computer science. You know, pretty much all my friends did that. Either they went into engineering or computer science. And the funny thing is, most of them didn't do computer science until after they did all their working life and then realized they wanted to go back to school. I'm the only one that hasn't. Probably should, too. Could go do like a technical college 2-year. But I'm feeling old. Don't need really. Subdomain. The funny thing is what do I want to learn about? And the other thing is a piece of paper gets you in the door. I mean, I already have 2 degrees, but that doesn't mean I get in the door. That's my problem. People like to know what you've done. So basically I need to, let's see, do a side project that's really well done, and then people will notice, right? What are you working on? Have you started work? If you just graduated, was it like recent or a couple months ago? Work wasn't that bad. You got into masters? Nice. Masters is a nice thing. I wish. I I applied to go back to school for an education on top, but they put me on a wait list and never got back to me, so I'm not in this year, which is unfortunate, but whatever. It's okay. Being a teacher, I don't think anybody would hire me. It's easy there? Where is there? Is it like a... I'm in Canada, so usually I just say university. Or a technical college. Test from all courses from bachelor. No. Interesting. I don't know what we have in that regards. We didn't have to write tests for most of it. Most people that went into masters just applied, and if their marks were high enough, they got in. And they needed recommendations, and they had to talk to the professors and have a few letters or something. Which I don't think is very difficult if you were active in your degree in research and all that stuff. So this problem, there is a math section and a verbal. And what it says in here is you can score a maximum of 1,600 points. I know it's not a question. And they require a math score of at least 600. This is actually just a problem that Nat had sent me earlier. She just hasn't got back yet, so I thought I'd just write it down so I don't have to keep flipping to it. And then we can just kind of interpret it when she's here. Some of these comments, hilarious. Okay. And she's not back yet. We don't have much else to work on, so you want to help me learn some differential equations? Or I should say, relearn differential. Yeah, VOD proof. The funny thing is you can't assume everybody knows how that works. The one thing I've learned from this, because I'm doing something unique, and I'm trying to get people that have never heard of Twitch, they have no idea how it works. I've had so many people tell me already they've never even heard of Twitch. All they've ever heard of is YouTube, so they don't realize that there is a VOD or that you can actually look at the video after or anything like that. And the funny thing is, when you say I live stream math on Twitch, most people are confused and they're skeptical. They think it's almost like some kind of not appropriate website because Twitch, the name. Then you show them and it's all good, right? So yeah, IRL section. Yeah, you definitely did, didn't you? Although some of those people have got some really cool IRL sections. There's one guy that does auto mechanic in IRL. What else have I seen? I guess it's all the other stuff's usually in creative with the painting and all that stuff. Okay. Kid Boga? What does Kid Boga do? Let me take a look. Oh, we got time. There's a cosmology lecture or something? Oh yeah. Scam that guy. I've seen videos on YouTube, but I haven't actually caught his stream before. I should follow that. I'm glad somebody out there is messing with scammers. Okay, let's go down. In computer science, what level of math did you ever get to? I know you did matrices because it's basically a given. But did you ever do differential equations? because A, find Raymond-Green theorem. How high of differential equations? Did you do the first course of it or the second course? Because there are different levels. So, like, do you remember at all how to solve this kind of differential equation? You learned some models, yep. Probably likely. See, it's been years since I've done these. So I've been going through my old textbooks again. Because when did I graduate math? 2012. And so it's been probably about 8 years since I've done these differential equations. Since the latest that I did them. So I've been going through these textbooks, relearning. Sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's not. Find the complementary solution. So, lambda cubed minus lambda equals 0. Take out a lambda, lambda squared minus 1 equals 0. We've got lambda equals 0, lambda equals plus or minus 1. This would yield a complementary solution. Does this textbook use T? Yes, T. Lambda equals 0 would be a constant. C1. Lambda equals 1. C2 e to the t plus C3 e to the minus t. Yeah, higher order differential equation. The actual the section that I'm doing right now is higher order linear non-homogeneous differential equations. So let me write that out. Higher order linear non-homogeneous no homo differential equations. That is one long title for a section. Not a chapter, a section. Okay, let's see. Can we figure out what's next? So we need to find a complementary solution. Done. Find a particular solution. What about y particular? Yeah, they did. This one involves forming a fundamental set. What are we doing? 3.13? Okay. Y particular. There's nothing particularly special about this one, so we're going to guess y p of t is some constant. What am I going to say? I'm going to call it a. E to the 2t. And we need all the derivatives of it. So y prime 2ae to the 2t, y double prime 4ae to the 2t, y triple prime. That's not too hard. Not too hard at all. Okay. Plug her in to the original formula. We got 8a e to the 2t minus y prime 2a e to the 2t equals e to the 2t 8a minus 2a equals 1. 8 minus 2 is 6a equals 1. A equals 1 over 6. So our particular solution is 1/6 of e to the 2t. And what was the third part? Formulate the general, which is just put them together. Okay. Well, that was an easy starter. Next one. Y triple prime minus y prime or t. It's much easier when I have more people that need questions, but too bad I'm not popular enough yet to have all those random people show up. I need about what would be a good number? 1,000 active students that show up randomly, which means if one showed up every hour or so, that would mean everybody would be able to be contacted on a regular basis. And then groups and all that stuff. Yes, definitely an increase in requests. The funny thing is they're all coming through my Instagram though. And whenever I'm live, I get at least 1 or 2 people. I also have another kid that was on here earlier. It was in here that I talk to pretty much every day through Discord, and I help him with his homework instead of doing live because it's a little easier. Though the funny thing is the Instagram part is the greatest because they contact me at any time. What a nice guy. You just a little bit. I prefer it if people have at least tried and they're wanting to learn the subject. I have had some people that just want me to answer questions and I don't really care, which I'm like, I'm not really a fan of that. But that's what happens, right? Eventually, one day, if this gets big enough, let's hopefully by Christmas I can make a little bit of money. I need to advertise in another way. Probably just go to the university and post some pictures or something. Okay, well, this one's going to be easy again. Y triple prime, that's lambda cubed minus lambda equals 0. Lambda squared minus 1 equals 0. So we've got the same. Lambda equals 0, lambda equals plus or minus 1. So y complement. We've got a constant C1 plus, what is it, C2 e to the t plus C3 e to the minus t. Particular solution, my particular of t. This is 4t. We can't forget the constant, so I'm going to say a1 plus a2t is a good guess. Because for every value of t, or the degree, you want to have the ones below it just in case. Because those could also be answers. Because when you take the derivative, most will go away. Okay. My music died. Let's put a little bit something louder for me here. Normally, I would play music on stream, but I'm more worried about those copyright issues, and if people do listen to a VOD, then it's all muted out anyways. Plus, I don't know how YouTube responds to live stream to music. Okay, y prime. First derivative will be a2, and second derivative will be 0. Now, of course, the third one will be 0, which is interesting when we look at this equation, because it's okay. We've got 0 minus y prime, which is a2, equals to 4t. Is that possible? No. Not possible. So I think we should up the degree by 1 and go a3t squared. So what does that change? We've got the first derivative will be a2 plus 2a3t, and well, by the time you get to y triple prime, you'll just get 0. Okay, so let's replace this. Y triple prime is 0. We're still going to minus y prime. a2 plus 2a3t equals 4t. So we've got minus a2 plus 2a3t equals 4t. For the left-hand side to equal the right-hand side, we'd have minus a2 is equal to 0, because there's no constant over here. And the 2a3 times t will equal to 4. So 2a3 is equal to 4. a2 is 0. And a3 is 2. Which gives us yb and a1 doesn't exist, really. It's going to be a constant. We don't know what it could be. We'll set it to 0 for without loss of generality they would use. So I posted the prisoner's dilemma on Instagram. I made up my own little post of it. I made it with you and your friend get grounded for missing curfew or something. And the funny thing is, nobody's really responded to the equilibrium yet. I wonder if anyone ever will. And y particular 2 e squared. Oh, I forgot the minus. There we go. Next one. Y triple prime plus y double prime equals to 6e to the minus t. We got about, I think, another 25 minutes. Yeah, another 25. We'll stop at 10:30. And tomorrow we'll start up again. Now, let me ask you that. If you always state the truth... Okay, I'm gonna bring this up. Give me a second here. No, I'll write it. Have you ever looked at the prisoner's dilemma before or done any research on it? Okay. Then we are going to be the two prisoners here. And you want to do what's in best interest for you. That's good. That's good. Your poker skills must be mad. Oh, that was lucky. This is going to look slightly off, because I know I'm not exactly centered. So this is truth. And this is lie. This is truth. And this is lie. If you both tell the truth, you get 1 and 1. If one of you lies and the other one tells the truth, the one who lies gets 0. The one who told the truth gets 3. So in this one, if you lie, you get 0. And this person would get 3. If you both lie, you get 2 and 2. Okay. So let's talk about your choice. You want to always do what's in your best interest. Yeah, you'd get 1 and 3. You always want to do what's in your best interest. If you tell the truth, your options are 1 and 3, you're right. If you lie, your options would be 0 and 2. Right, so you would pick 0 and 2. You would want to lie. That's your ideas because you want to do what's best for you. You want to get 0. But I also want to get what's best for me. I also would want to lie because that would be the most optimal for me. So the trick to this is we both know that if we tell the truth, we'd get less time comparatively, But if one of us backstabs each other, we'll get worse time. Worse than both of us. So, if you have a comparison between 1 and 0, you're going to go for 0. And if you have a comparison between 0 and 2, you're going to go for 0. Right? You want to go this way. So you want to lie. You count the average of choices. Well, you can't really think about the average in this case. In the prisoner's dilemma, you want to do what's best for you at all times. Because that's what people want to do, right? You want to maximize your gain, your potential. So the difference between 1 and 0, you want to go to 0. Well, I also know the difference between 1 and 0. I want to go to 0. So we both lie, which means we both get 2s. This is our equilibrium square. I didn't have enough room. It's mean. It's actually, if you've seen A Beautiful Mind, the character John Nash, this is related to what he was talking about. I think they named it the Nash Equilibrium, if I remember correctly. I should Google it. Yep. You got it. I gotta reset my window here. So, logically, you want to tell the truth because you know that, oh, if both of us tell the truth, we get it off. Yeah. Too bad that in this, it doesn't work that way. It's neat. Anyways, that's a good side note. Is there anything else that would be interesting to talk about besides just standard math? You know, like the coursework. So we just talked about the prisoner's dilemma. Is there any other things that are interesting that is kind of related to math and science that you can think of off the top of your head? I wonder. Because I'd like to do another post similar to that, where it's not entirely math-based, but like logic-based. And you gotta think about it. Yeah, applications. But what kind? Like I did one a while ago that was, it was just simple conversions, but like using planetary distances and the speed of light. So what, okay, if you say systems, what kind of systems would it be good to talk about? Like, do you have an example? Those that are modeled with differential equations? What, like heat equations? Populations of frogs? I know I did one with like a bacteria population. Maybe I should do the rabbit one. You know, they breed like rabbits, and how many years does it take to expand versus when do they die off? Maybe I should do something like that. That would be simple to show to people. Yeah. Growth and death. I don't think I did one with that yet. I should look. I liked the idea of the post-it notes, but it looks kind of ugly. I did a population growth, but no life and death. The HIV virus? I don't want to go too far. I mean, there's quite a few kids on this. So I don't want to go too far. It's still got to be something like the population of frogs seemed like a good idea. HIV virus, a little dangerous. Let's see. What? Okay, let me just quickly look and see what they have in here for questions. Buoyant motion. Geometry into graphics. That's a good idea. There was actually one day I was just playing with equations, making geometric shapes. Like I would, I think I was in this type deal. I turned on the grid and I drew a little thing. And then I was going, y is equal to the absolute. Oh, I hate how they just attaches to grid. Yep, to grid. Y equals absolute value of x. And then I would show, so this is like the first one, and then I would do like x plus 1 and then the minus 1, and so I'd have like a whole bunch of these. But I can't keep track in my mind here. And then I'd have the inverse of them. And by inverse, I mean the negatives. And I'd have so many. And then I would include like the parabolas. Y equals x squared, and then I'd draw that. And then I would try and make a geometric shape out of all these functions. And then I would list all the functions that I use to make the shape. And then I thought of like doing some coloring method to work with it. Draw a ghost with functions. It does sound kind of silly for education system. So where are you? I'm assuming you're in the state, because practically everyone's in the States population-wise. Because I think the population of Canada is only like 30 million. Romania? Nice. Oh, that's right. You know, I forget from time to time. Now I remember. I gotta write a list of people so that I don't forget some from time to time. See, I think your education system worked really well. Well, just the European education system seemed to be a lot better than ours for the most part. Like, when you went to elementary school and high school, I'm sure you had like a decent amount more structured. I'm sure you had like a huge amount of homework, but it wasn't a like difficult homework. You didn't sit there being like, I don't know how to do this. It's like your class time, you actually figured out how to do it, and then you just had to practice at home. Didn't really struggle through it, right? Regardless if it was hard to you or not. Yeah, it was practice homework. See, I'm finding a lot of students here in Canada and the States, they'll have their teachers lecture like anybody else, and then they'll have a whole bunch of homework to go home to do, but they'll sit down to do their homework and they'll be like, I don't know how to do any of this. So what was the difference in your education than ours? Just like how they taught it to you. Did you have more... time wouldn't have mattered too much. You could have had an extra hour, but that's like 10 minutes of class, right? You were taught more about concepts, I'm sure. Okay, let's discuss a concept. I've really been curious about this. So, okay, you and I understand the concept of forming a graph from an old one, right? We could look at a function and understand what the base one was and how to get to the new one. So if I draw these axes, and let's say I draw a parabola over here, and this is the point 3, -1. You know what the base formula would be, right? Like, they would teach you that right away. They would say, oh, the base formula of a parabola is just y equals x squared, right? Yeah, right. Yeah. So I've had to discuss with the kid I tutor quite a few times about going from the base function to a new function. You know, even just to figure out what the formula is, or given a formula, graph it, all those things. The way I think about it is by going from the original function to the new one without having to worry too much about formulas or anything like that. That's what I would think about. I'd look at, oh, it shifted down, it shifted to the right. Is the slope change? No. Is it flipped? Yeah. Like, I would think about those things, right? The way the way this kid has his notes is they say that this is the base one, so absolute value, for example, and then they give him this. What do you got there? Unfortunately, I can't read that. I can kind of guess. The funny thing is, most of it's in mathematical terms, so I can kind of guess by looking at it what it's asking for. Complex conjugates. Determine the parabola from in vertex graphing form, I believe. Yeah. Logs probably simplify. Probability. Line segments. I think that's referring to. I'm not sure. It looks like sine, cos, tan type stuff, but it's in line segments. Matrices, addition, subtraction, all that stuff with matrices, determine the determinant, all that stuff. The last one is trig? Yeah, I think so. And subject 3, rational. See, that's interesting. If you had to do derivatives and integrals. Well, let me ask you this. Was this course or this material that's all on here, everyone needs to be able to do? Or only the people that take the higher stuff? The people that take the stuff that they want to go to university for? Or is all of these for everyone? Cool, you actually did philosophy too. That's awesome. See, Yeah, I would believe that the most would be the math info. But the thing that I'm wondering is, did all students who graduated needed to know those things? Or only the ones that took the higher level maths? Or was all the math mandatory for all students to graduate? So, okay, was math info required to graduate? For natural science, they had easier math. I thought so. They had more applicable math, right? Because not all of this is straight applicable to everything needed in everyday life, right? Yours was more catered, I'd assume. You chose, yeah. So, like, yeah, 80% of them are math info. Well, I'm pretty sure most of it had to be math info from the beginning. Because you have to learn all the standard stuff, right? So the thing that I'm noticing, and the kids that I'm running into, and university students as well, is over here, it didn't seem like they were taught concepts, only just how to regurgitate a formula. And if they didn't remember the formula, then they didn't know how to do the problem. Now, I feel like in your education system, you actually learned a system or a concept rather than a formula. So, an example, my student was given this formula and then said, okay, H is a shift to the right. And then if it's a plus H, it's shift to the left. Right? Okay. And then they were like, plus K is up. Yeah, there's the concept and the tricks to make it easy to solve. The thing is, though, did you learn it more in general? Well, yeah, there's that. That's I understand that idea. If you see it in the form, this is the equation, blah blah blah. But the thing that I'm getting at is I'm seeing them just have this. They'll learn a formula and they'll have all these things, and they'll memorize it. That's all they'll do is they'll just memorize it. And then the next thing they'll come into is this one. So let me ask you this. If you were never told about shift, how would you interpret an equation like 2x minus 1 plus 2? How would you interpret this? How would you think about graphing it? What would be your method? If you were not giving any of these shift stuff, what would be your method to graph this function? Would you do like a table of values? Okay. I think that's part of my point. Okay, you know what the absolute value of x looks like. Okay, since you know what that looks like, I'm just going to draw it. Okay, now if you weren't taught the shift and stretch and all that stuff, how would you draw this function from here? Maybe a table of values. Okay. Let me show you what I would think about. I'm going to recreate the formula. Oh, or for 3 points or something. Yeah, you think about a table of values. Let me show you what I think about. Yeah, you'd say, well, where is it 0, right? Okay, we'll do that first. X minus 1. If we set that to 0, then we know that x is equal to 1. Okay, we know that it's shifted to the right once. If we move that origin over, boom, done. That's what this function would look like. What about adding another piece to it? What would be the next piece you would think about putting to it? So you're used to algorithms, and I would look at this like an algorithm. You know, each piece. The plus 2, okay. So now, what happens to this 0 when you add 2? Right? It would go up 2 points. And then there, so you've changed your origin. You've gone over 1 and up 2. Now, what about this 2? What does this do? Yeah, you know it's the slope. And because you know it's the slope, you know it's the slope of a line, it would just increase, right? Instead of being a slope of 1, it would be a slope of 2, so it would be a much faster rise. And that's how you get that formula, right? That's the way I would think about it. Is just step by step, going from the original function, which is the base function, getting the new one. Yeah. See, you learned derivatives in the second year of high school. Guess what? Most kids will not learn derivatives or any real pre-calculus stuff until their final year of high school. They will be given a formula and then memorize the formula, this kind of a formula, and then they'll be given it again, and then they'll have to memorize that formula, and then they'll be given it again, for a new function. Yeah, you learned global and local max. That's awesome. Kids here might learn that in their final semester of their last year in high school. Maybe. I have seen some, a little bit in the first, but no derivatives. In fact, my high school, we had a calculus class in the second semester of grade 12. So our last term of high school is when we learned derivatives. I don't think it's very good for students to just learn a formula, tell them what it all is, and then show them another formula, because in their eyes it'll be brand new, instead of discussing what does it mean to add a number. You know? Anyways. Go on. To be fair. It's true, no one really cares. But we as adults know we should have cared more. You had, let me ask you this. So you had finals, like high school written finals in just the last year? You didn't have like each class had its own final exam throughout high school? Or did you have like one big final exam at the end of high school for like an entrance exam or something to university? Interesting. That's awesome. We didn't have that here. Literally just pass each class, you get your diploma. Yeah, I understand the language thing. Ours was based on credits. You had to have a certain number of a math credit. You had to have a certain number of language credits. And that was about it. And all of those just needed to be passed classes. I think we needed a math and English, a science, and the rest, I don't think it really mattered. I feel like yours is more universal. Oh yeah, that would make sense. Cool. Well, I think we might call her quits for tonight. Unless there's anybody else that has some problems they want to work on. Because it is technically getting late for me, and I'll start again tomorrow. Robbie, I like having you hang out. That's awesome. Very grateful for that. Somebody to talk to always is better. Okay. I think we're good. I think we're gonna call it quits. Let's see. Bye, Robbie. If you want to stick around, that's fine too. I'm just gonna give a little host. Okay, guys. I'm grateful for everybody that turned out. This is going to be great. I'm going to try and do this more often. I haven't felt so good this past week, but I'm feeling a little better now. Yeah, raids. All right, let's go raid and have a good time.